Hey everyone, I just want to talk about Conor McGregor and his transformation from just being an MMA fighter to a very successful business owner, entrepreneur, basically a player in the MMA landscape. So about, I think 6, 7 years ago, I was listening to a video from Dan Peña. He's basically, he claims to be the $1 billion man. And he basically claimed to help a lot of people jumpstart their business or take their business to the next level. And he had a lot of mentees that he claimed that help them get to the next level. And in one of the videos, he talked about this Irish MMA fighter who went to the castle. That's where he gives his 7-day workshop to help get you to the next level in your business, life, etc. And he said this MMA fighter came to learn from him. And about 6, 7 years ago, I didn't know who it was. I was trying to figure out, okay, who's this MMA fighter he's talking about? And so I'm like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. It's just, some random MMA fighter. But to go to his castle costs about $10,000 for a 7-day training where you get up, I think, at 8 in the morning and you don't finish till, I think, 9 at night. Every day you have to wear a suit and he grills you. Like, he basically breaks you down and rebuilds you. And then after the seminar, he has 1 year of coaching where he basically mentor you. Every night you're supposed to fax him your Excel spreadsheet, your sales figures, what you're planning to do, your action step, etc. Okay, so think of your dad who kicks your butt and times it by 10. Okay, so anyways, I couldn't figure out who it was, and I'm thinking like, okay, who's this MMA fighter, right? And then if you watch Dan Peña, his trademark is the 3-piece suit with a pocket watch and also I think a rose on his left side. And so one day I was watching Conor McGregor and I was watching the way he was dressing and he was slowly transforming himself. And I think he made the transition from just a regular MMA fighter to someone who wants to dominate and control his own space when he had the contract to fight Mayweather. And I started watching him wear basically suits, very close-fitting 3-piece suit. And one day it hit me. I was like, wait a minute. If you put Dan Peña and Conor McGregor beside each other, they basically dress exactly the same. And that's when I realized that Conor McGregor was probably coached by Dan Peña, and he took radical step to transform himself. He didn't want to just think of himself as an MMA fighter, but more of how does he leverage himself as a commodity and use his platform for greater opportunities. Okay, and so I think I was one of the first to talk about this. I don't know who else talks about it, but I was one of the first to point out that Conor McGregor more than likely was influenced by Dan Peña or even took his workshop. Now, in my follow-up video, I'm going to talk about how Conor McGregor used NLP or neuro-linguistic programming to hype himself up and to give himself courage to take very bold action steps. Okay, and so I'm going to point out his speech patterns, and especially when he gets on stage and start rambling on and on against his opponent, there's a certain behavioral pattern, certain speech pattern that he employed, and I see it very commonly employed by other charismatic people who are trying to convince you to do something or convince you that they can accomplish something. So I'm going to break that down. Now, please take this with a grain of salt. I have no solid evidence that Conor McGregor took Dan Peña's castle workshop, okay? But based on my observation and his transformation from just being an MMA fighter to the way he dressed, okay? Now, it's not a coincidence that he dressed exactly like Dan Peña, Okay, if you look at all the mentees, all the people who get coached by Dan Peña, they all basically dress the same. Okay, now Dan Peña is very adamant about dressing up in a certain way. He honestly believed that you should put a lot of thought and effort in getting a well-fitted suit. He always mentioned Tom Ford. So if you can, Tom Ford used to be a designer for Gucci. And he said, you know what, get a very well fitted suit by him. Now, obviously, he's like beyond a lot of us we can afford, but I honestly believe that as modern men, we forget how to dress for success. All of us are just kind of getting very sloppy. So as you can see in my video, a lot of times I'm wearing a blazer because I'm trying to push myself a little bit more out there. One thing I try to teach myself and my students is that you got to be a chameleon. Okay, like a couple of my students, they get very uncomfortable when they have to give speeches, or sometimes I put them in the spotlight. I get them to teach classes for me because I'm kind of busy, or I'm training my fighters, and I need one of my students who's been with me for 2-3 years to take over the class. And he gets very uncomfortable, right? And I'm trying to teach him that you need to play the part, you need to be a chameleon. And so a lot of times we dress a certain way, and then we believe that the world needs to cater to the way we dress. And I actually think that's the wrong approach. I'm not saying be inauthentic, but I honestly believe that you should be a chameleon, where you should fit into whatever environment you get put in. And then on top of that, own that environment, like put your own spin on it, put your own persona on it. So, for example, let's just say you like to wear saggy pants and just like sweatpants all the time. Now, if you were to get invited to a luncheon, they expect you to wear maybe like a blazer or a nice suit, and you're just so uncomfortable wearing that. Okay, so already you put yourself at a disadvantage because you don't know how to navigate around that environment. So it's very powerful to be able to navigate in different environments at the same time, stay true to yourself. So it takes a lot of experimenting, takes a lot of like just playing and getting comfortable in your own skin. And I feel that just being comfortable in your own skin is a very, very powerful, because then you choose to know who you are as a competitor, as someone who wants to, go out there and try to succeed and, and carve your own path. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked this video. In my follow-up video, which might be a little bit longer, might be a little bit complex because I have to like edit down the video, but I'm going to show you the speech pattern of Conor McGregor and several other people I've been observing, and how they used that speech pattern to kind of like have a feedback loop within themselves, so that they have the courage to move forward, or they're trying to convince you that they can accomplish something.